ESPN presents the HFC Hydroplane Series. This week, the Pringles Family Thunderboat Classic from Syracuse, New York. The HFC Hydroplane Series is brought to you by Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource, and by Pringles, the fever reliever.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick, along with Dick Crippen, on Onondaga Lake in Syracuse, New York, race number 5 of the HFC Hydroplane Series. This is the Pringles Family Thunderboat Classic. Dick, we've had the wind kick up the most it has the last 3 days.
Yeah, no question about it. We've had a little threat of rain, a couple of sprinkles earlier this morning, but things settled down sky-wise at this point anyway. The big concern is the wind, because the Miss Circus and Chip Hanauer went out and set a new qualifying record at 159.45. That's a little bit more than probably what we're going to get out here with this wind today, because they're going to have to fool the wings. I think one of the most exciting things that has happened so far at this race, Jim, is the fact that they had that GIF challenge that really was successful.
Actually, they took the 3 top qualifiers of the turbines and the 3 top qualifiers of the piston-driven engines, and they went head-to-head in a shootout, 3 laps each. This is what happened. The 3 piston engine-powered hydroplanes drew for starting lanes. Cooper's Express with Mitch Evans in lane number 1. In lane number 2, Whole-Set Miss Madison, driven by Mike Hansen and Jerry Hopp in the paddock pools on the far outside as they came down for this 3-lap shootout. For most of this 3-lapper, it was Mitch Evans in Cooper's Express leading the way, but on the half-a-lap mark, with only a half-a-lap to go, engine problems developed in Cooper's Express. On came Mike Hansen in the Whole-Set Miss Madison, and he wins the shootout and the $10,000 top check. Dick Crippen met the winning driver at the docks.
Well, Michael, a win is a win is a win, and that's a nice way to start the weekend.
Yeah, it is. It's real nice. We've got to thank Jeff and Pringles for putting on this shootout. It's a real honor for us, and we needed the money, so we went out there and gave it everything we had.
And the turbines likewise had a pre-draw for position and lanes. On the inside, Winston Eagle with Jim Cropfeld. In lane number 2, Mr. Pringles, driven by George Woods Jr. And on the far outside was Chip Hanauer in the Circus. Showing the short way around the course, wire to wire for his very first victory in the Winston Eagle for 1990 was the driver Jim Cropfeld from Cincinnati in Steve Woomer's Winston Eagle. Along with the shootout win yesterday came another $10,000 check.
Jimmy, that had to feel good. This crew has worked so hard to get a first place.
That's right. The Winston Eagle team, the guys, we're starting to gel and get together. We're a young crew, and I'm young too, young on the team. But anyway, they worked hard until midnight, 2, 3 every morning for weeks now, and it finally came together. We the luck of the draw, and the GIF people, Pringles, are just great to put something like this on. I hope the fans really enjoyed it. Chip and I had a good time out there, and yeah, this is a lot of fun like this.
It wasn't fun for Jim Cropfeld, involved in an auto accident. Shortly after that interview, his driving status today with cracked ribs is questionable.
Now, we just got official word that Jim Cropfeld apparently will try to drive the Winston Eagle in Heat 1B today.
Sore ribs and all, we have plenty of action, and it'll all be coming up here at Onondaga Lake in just a moment. We're getting set for action at Heat 1A, but yesterday in the shootout, one of the big contenders was missing. Dick Crippen's down in the Budweiser camp.
This has been a very busy week for the Miss Budweiser crew. Bernie, they've been hard at work.
Yeah, they really have. They worked around the clock in Detroit after our accident in Evansville, or Madison, Indiana. Tore the whole deck out and the side out. And, we really wanted to get in the shootout they had here today with the Pringles. That would have been a great race, and it was a great race. Sorry we couldn't have gotten in there, but we were just behind the 8 ball.
Now today's action is about to begin. Cooper's Express in Heat 1A, driven by Mitch Evans. Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus. Jerry Hopp in the Garrett Turbo U7. George Woods Jr. in Mr. Pringles. And we're all set to go as they come down for the start, Dick Crippen.
All eyes on lanes 2 and 3. In lane 2, it's Circus with Chip Hanauer as the gun fires to start Heat 1A. Lane 3 is the GIF presents Mr. Pringles, George Woods Jr. Now, the weather is a concern here. The winds have definitely whipped up on Lake Onondaga. We watch closely as the boats go into their first turns of the day to see how they can handle coming head-on into the wind as they complete it.
And this boat with this driver last year on this very same lake, literally, I thought destroyed that boat forever, but they repaired it. It's back racing, but that has to be on the mind of Chip Hanauer as he heads for about the very same spot he lost it last year.
At this point, it looks like he's got a very good lap going for him. There you take a look at the third place boat. That is Cooper's Express. Behind the Cooper's Express is the Garrett Turbo boat. Mr. Pringles is now riding in second place. There is your leader, Chip Hanauer. We get a long shot of the course to the left of your screen as Chip presents Mr. Pringles. To the right, it is Circus Circus. About 6 boat lengths separate those two for first and second.
And about 5 mile an hour separates them. 135.7 for the Circus Circus, 130.0 for the second place boat, Mr. Pringles. We're in lap number 2 of 3 laps, and that's the way it is. Another 3-lap sprint leading up to the final, and your leader is Circus Circus Chip Hanauer.
Circus Circus seemingly unchallenged at this point. He's going to take the time to learn the course, find out where the weather conditions are making a difference on the course. Any rollers, you can see there, he looks pretty smooth, as does the Chip presents Mr. Pringles. But there are wind conditions out there all the boats have to be aware of. They're going to find out what's going to happen. We've got a boat down. It looks like it's the Garrett Turbo boat. That, of course, the driver, Jerry Hopp, very disappointed at this point. They have really worked hard to get that boat in. 135.231 for the Circus Circus on its second lap.
And about the same distance between the first and second place boat, and about the identical speed for the Mr. Pringles at 130.5.
Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus Circus, George Woods in the Chip presents Mr. Pringles. Both drivers going to school on this course at Onondaga Lake in Syracuse, New York, trying to figure out what the wind conditions will be like and how they can set their boats up for the races coming up later today.
What a difference that year makes, Dick. It was ideal weather last year for new records that was set for the entire weekend. Syracuse last year was a setting, remember, for that spectacular deck-to-deck 150-plus mile-an-hour heat average between Circus Circus and the Miss Budweiser. That was the fastest track event ever in this sport.
And one that all the fans on the banks of the lake will certainly remember. We look now toward the finish line, and of course Chip Hanauer is looking up to the tower to see if he gets that checkered flag. And the flag is out there. Chip Hanauer will be welcomed home. The first winner of the day here at Lake Onondaga, Syracuse, New York. The winner of Heat 1A, Miss Circus Circus.
Average winning speed, 132.8. Our third place finisher, the Cooper's Express. There's the way they finished, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go down to the pit area and Dick Crippen.
Well, Chip, you take the win, but more importantly, you learn what the wind has in store for you out on the course.
Yeah, it's rough. It's very rough. Shades of last year when I got in trouble here.
135, though, that's not a bad speed out there. You must have had a control factor.
Yeah, actually I'm surprised at that because we never really did lay down a whole lap, so I'm pretty pleased with that.
So you look forward to the rest of the day. You know the wings are going to get a workout.
Everything's going to get a workout. It's real rough, and trying to keep the boat together and keep yourself together and the engine together is going to be a long day.
The Pringles Family Thunderboat Classic, Heat 1B, will be coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to Onondaga Lake, Syracuse, New York. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen. We're getting set for Heat 1B, and here's the way they'll stack up for competition. Tommy Deeth and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser. Jim Croftfeld and Steve Woomer's Winston Eagle. Jim Harvey sends the rookie Mark Tate out in his Oh Boy Alberto, and the Budweiser has been repaired for this race.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job repairing the Miss Budweiser, and of course Bernie and the whole crew, Ronnie Brown, everybody just are behind this team 100%.
The team is now being represented by Tom Deeth on the course as the start flag is pulled in for the start of Heat 1B. On the inside, the right side of your screen, it is the Miss Budweiser, Tom Deeth. Second place now, the Winston Eagle, Jim Croftfeld. Deeth taking it very carefully through the corner out there as the water continues to roughen up here on Lake Onondaga in Syracuse, New York. Tom is going to take a little lesson from the lake and see what he can learn. Third place right off the bat is the Oh Boy Alberto. Close in fourth place and closing in fast is the Hulset Miss Madison, Mike Hansen driving. There you can see the distance between the rest of the field and the leader, the Miss Budweiser, Tom Deeth.
And Tommy's got a pretty good lap going here, Dick Crippen, as he comes around close to 134 mile an hour. But the real battle is going on for second, third, and fourth. About 500 feet back. And look at this battle as the Winston Eagle in the middle of your screen comes out. On the inside is Old Boy Alberto, and coming up fast on the left is the Holset Miss Madison.
Holset Miss Madison goes by the Old Boy Alberto to now move up into third place and challenge another turbine boat, the Winston Eagle, with Jim Kropfeld aboard. So this will be a battle to watch as Mike Hansen seems to have himself a real fine day going. Mike, incidentally, crashed on this lake a couple of years ago in another turbine-powered boat, the first turbine he had ever driven. So I don't know whether that keeps flashing back to him or not, but right at the moment, the only thing he is seeing is the tail of the Miss Budweiser. He has moved up into second place. He's going to get another challenge on the inside from the Winston Eagle. Jimmy Kropfeld says, not so easy, Mike. Let's give you a little bit of a workout. Here we go, and he pushes the pedal down to take it over again. Second place, Winston Eagle. First place, the Miss Budweiser. Tom Deeth driving that boat and doing a great job. I'm sure he's enjoying the ride, rough as it is. 129.489 miles per hour on that lap.
And the battle for second place continues, and it's the Holset Miss Madison. Mike Hansen comes on the outside and moves into second place by about 3 boat lengths here on the final lap of 3.
What a great day for Mike Hansen. I know Bob Hughes and the entire Miss Madison crew is just thrilled to death to see that boat operating so well. As a matter of fact, passing 2 turbine boats, the Old Boy Alberto and the Winston Eagle. But of course, this is a rough course, and they're going to take full advantage of every possible thing they have going in their favor. And in this particular case, the piston packer is doing its job and holding the boat on the water.
This marks the first anniversary of the day that Tom Deeth came on to permanently take the seat of Miss Budweiser. He took over on this race and won it last year. So as he comes in to take the checker flag, he's looking for his second consecutive victory here in Syracuse, New York.
Tom Deeth aboard the red and white Miss Budweiser, the U1, the winner in Heat 1B, second place after a great job of driving. Mike Hansen in the Holset Miss Madison. Third place, now a surprise. Oh boy, Alberto. Apparently Winston Eagle on the left of your screen had some sort of a problem. So Mark Tate takes third place. Winston Eagle comes in fourth.
Little school time out there, guys?
Well, it's a little sloppy out there. The water conditions are a little lumpy, but the Miss Budweiser ran great, and we just have to see what happens in the next heat. We're going to tune her for the final.
Little over 133 on lap number 1. Then you backed off.
Yeah, well, I knew where everybody was at, so I just ran the pace I had to in order to finish comfortably in first.
Well, your driver's out in front. We had a good battle there for second and third, but I think Jim Kropfeld's hurting.
Well, I'm sure he is. He had an automobile accident I'm sure that everybody knows about last night, and that's a tough break. They're running strong, and knowing Jim, he'll be in there for the final.
Well, right now, Jim is a little concerned about a low sponson that apparently is taking on water on the Winston Eagle. They'll have to get the boat towed to shore to check that damage out. We'll be back with more of the 1990 Pringles Family Thunderboat Classic from Syracuse, New York in just a moment.
Here in Onondaga Lake, they're lifting the Winston Eagle up, and the right running bottom of the sponson has been torn away. Both driver and boat are hurting.
All right, Jimmy, first of all, you.
I'm sore. Well, the water's just so rough out there. There's 2 and 3 foot wakes, and the boat's just pounding so hard on it that it just goes right up to my body and hits my rib cage, and it stops right there.
All right, what about you? Do you continue or do you stop?
Well, I just noticed now the boat started handling bad out there. I knew something was wrong. We came in and pulled it up, and I see some damage to the bottom. So we'll have to check that out. But if we can get it back together, we'll try one more.
Now let's learn a little bit more about unlimited hydroplane racing in the Performance Corner, brought to you by the folks at Performance Corner. Call 1-800-533-8989 for the store nearest you.
This week, let's take a look at the canopy, if you will, that saved many lives at unlimited hydroplane racing. And our technical director, Doug Ford, is down in the cockpit. And Doug, this Miss Budweiser looks like she's pretty wrapped around a driver.
Well, yes, it certainly is, Jim. You know, since the 1950s, we've had blowover accidents that have killed more than 14 unlimited drivers. Since the advent of this structural protective type cockpit, we've had 12 or more major blowover accidents and not one driver seriously injured or killed. This is the reason. This cockpit is made up of structural aluminum honeycomb and or composite. We have a full roll cage in here made up of chrome moly steel, high-strength steel in case of a multiple blowover accident or multiple boat accident, and a canopy. This comes off of an F-16 fighter plane, and it's capable of withstanding a bird strike of up to 600 knots. Tremendous protection here. To hold him in place, we have these large 5-point, 6-point harness straps. The man stays in here, is fully contained, so he can't hit anything side to side in this molded seat. Wears a helmet with a mask and air, 15 minutes of reserve air in case he's upside down to give the rescue crew time to get him out. On top of that, there's a hatch in the bottom so that the crew can get at him if the boat is upside down.
In the center of your screen, Steve Reynolds waving at you, pointing at his hat. He is the only driver that has been seriously injured inside one of those canopies. Here's the starting lineup for Heat 2A. Holset Miss Madison, Miss Circus Circus, Mr. Pringles. Winston Eagle will not take the start of Heat 2A because of the damage suffered earlier. So it is Circus Circus, Pringles, and the Holset Miss Madison. 1, 2, 3 in the lanes as they come around in control. Chip Hanauer in the Circus Circus.
Chip Hanauer is really put his foot down. Right now, he's gone to school the first time out. He knows this course a little better as he proceeds down the back chute with a pretty good lead, about 5 boat lengths over the second place boat.
Second place, the Jeff Presents Mr. Pringles, George Woods Jr. He's doing a good job. Again, this is the host boat. Here's the Holset Miss Madison, Mike Hansen. He had a second place finish in a turbine field in the last heat, so he's looking to do some good things out here if he possibly can this time around and prove it was no fluke. There you see the difference between first and second place. The leader, the pink lady, Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus Circus. Holset Miss Madison still trying to close in the gap a little bit more if she possibly can. A good run for Chip Hanauer.
134.2 on lap number 1 of 3 as Chip Hanauer starts down the back chute once again here on this 2-mile oval Onondaga Lake.
Now, hopefully, all of you are watching how these boats are riding, because when we get in the championship heat later this afternoon, you're going to watch all of the trouble spots at one time, and you're going to be anticipating what's going to happen out on that course, because when these boats really open it up and they are side by side, it's going to be a lot of driver strategy entering into it. For instance, right there, you can see it kind of roughens up just a little bit. He gets the Circus Circus tiptoeing across the top of the water, lifts the sponson high, settles it back down. This is good driving, but it's also an indication that the water is not cooperating, and they're going to have to fight it all afternoon.
Adjustments will be made from time to time on these crews. The team manager here for the Circus Circus is Dave Bilwach, and he is a 6-time APBA national champion driver in limited class in his own right, so he knows boat racing.
He certainly does, and he's one of the ones they're using to test the new boat that, incidentally, they are trailering around the circuit this year. There is a brand new Circus Circus boat ready to come out of the box. Mike Hansen and the Holset Miss Madison still holding in third place. Very solid run for him today. He's got a second place to his credit already. This would be a nice addition as he continues to accumulate those points to get himself into the final championship heat later today.
The Mr. Pringles is making a late charge, but I don't think he'll have enough time, as taking the short way around the course in lane number 1 and heading for the checker flag is Chip Hanauer in the Circus Circus.
There you see the distance between first and second to the right of your screen. The pink lady, Circus Circus, and something has come loose off the back. I think it is the strut that holds up the side wing, or the horizontal stabilizer wing. Second place now goes to Jeff Presents Mr. Pringles, and third place to the Holset Miss Madison, Mike Hansen, the driver. Let's take a look at the final finish. 400 points for Chip Hanauer.
And the Winston Eagle was scheduled to start that heat, but because of the damage in the first heat, Jim Lucero and crew still working feverishly on the bottom of the right sponson to get ready for more action. Let's go to the winner's circle.
Okay, Chip, a little bit more weather for you to fool with.
Yeah, it was kind of like more of the same. Same boat, same weather, same everything.
All right, you go back out now. You got a little bit more of your strategy developed. What are you looking at this point?
Well, you know, we still have another elimination heat. A lot of formats would be going right to the final now, but we have another elimination heat to contend with. Boat ride's good, and we'll just kind of debrief and see if we can keep refining it.
More action on Onondaga Lake in the Pringles Family Thunderboat Classic after this timeout. Welcome back to Onondaga Lake, Syracuse, New York. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen. And now it's time to take an inside look at another fine unlimited hydroplane racing team, Old Boy Oberto, starting with owner Jim Harvey.
Jim, this crew really has worked hard.
Well, it's been a very difficult winter for us, trying to employ both power plants, the Merlin, Rolls-Royce Merlin, and the turbine into the hull at the same time, being able to run one in saltwater and the other in freshwater. And now that we've had an opportunity to run the turbine engine, we're finding out how much more enjoyable it is. The long hours and the hard work with the piston engine, it was worth it when we were running them, but now we're looking forward to running the turbine and probably more more races than we anticipated.
All right, you guys have worked close together. Talk to me about your crew.
Jeff Miner is our Merlin mechanic, and now he's presently learning the ropes on the turbine engine. We have Tom Anderson, who joined us this last year. He came from the Syracuse and the Pringles team in the past. He works on our turbine engines. We have Jack Miller, who joined us from the Budweiser team in the winter. He works on the turbine engines. And we have Dave Schmidt, who is our hull specialist, and he takes care of the boat. Problems that arise in the systems or the construction of the hull, Dave takes care of that. And we have Brooke Tyler and Rita Tyler, who join us from Massachusetts each year. And anything that needs to be done that I don't like to do, they do it for us.
Now we're set to go for Heat 2B. The lineups is Budweiser, Cooper's Express, Oh Boy Alberto, and the Garrett Turbo. Dick?
Tom Deeth in the Miss Budweiser is in lane number 1. He's going to try to take the short way around the course, see if he can stay tight to the buoy line. If he can keep his speed up high and possibly have a little strategy when he goes into the championship later this afternoon. So it is Tom Deeth in the Miss Budweiser leading the field down into turn number 1.
As they come off the corner number 2, let's remind you this is a 3-lap sprint. Each boat will have to make 3 appearances, accumulate as many points as they can to get into the winner-take-all final here on Onondaga Lake later on.
Oh Boy Alberto, Mark Tate holding second place to the Miss Budweiser. And in third place, it looks like it's Cooper's Express, Mitch Evans, followed by the Garrett Turbo boat, Jerry Hopp driving. A good ride around the course, a rather rough course it is too, with the wind and the waves now starting to come up. We're getting a report or two sporadically from the far side of the course that some white caps are being seen. So far, the showers have held off. 131.469 miles per hour for the Miss Budweiser at the end of lap number 1. Again, a reminder, that is an average speed. Second place boat, the Oh Boy Alberto boat.
Average speed only, of course, goes from timing from one point to the other in a full lap. Their straightaway speeds will exceed sometimes 200 mile an hour to get a high average lap.
And as we looked at the Oh Boy Alberto just a moment ago, she got a little loose on the water. Again, we remind you that's a rookie driver in that boat, Mark Tate. And they have put the turbine in there, but they started the season with one of those kind of engines right there that you see on the Cooper's Express. We mean one of the piston engines, the big Allison or the Rolls-Royce engines. So it's quite a different ride. A lot of horsepower being developed, as George Woods told us earlier. Jerry Hopp in the Garrett Turbo holding right in there, now in 4th position. You take a good look right down the chute, 129.777 at the Miss Budweiser. She's holding very good speeds. Oh Boy Alberto, very consistent. It's a good run for Mark Tate.
Currently in second place, Mark Tate, 117.5 mile an hour his last lap, as we have about a half a lap to go, and this Heat 2B will be history.
Tom Deeth looking to accumulate as many points as he possibly can to go into the final. Circus is doing exactly the same thing, and the other drivers are trying to move up as we see the Miss Budweiser starting to lap the field. She went by the Garrett Turbo boat there just a moment ago, and now Tom Deeth will turn his eyes toward the starter's tower to see if he sees the checkered flag coming out. Incidentally, we say that on these races because if the checkered flag doesn't come out, it means the boat has been penalized for an infraction on the course. But in this case, the checkered flag is being readied. Tom Deeth will come home with 400 points to add to his total today. He continues on a straight course to the championship.
And now for second place, Oh Boy Alberto goes by the Cooper's Express coming off of corner number 4. The dash to the checkered flag will be won by Oh Boy Alberto, but not by much as Cooper's Express comes in on the inside, but he passes him too late. He'll have to settle for third. And the crew, Jim Harvey and gang, are a little concerned. Where do we finish, gang? Well, the official word is they did finish second to the winner, Miss Budweiser. Let's go to the pits.
Ron, yesterday you brought the boat back out and we're fooling with it a little bit after all the repairs that it had to go through this week. It looks like everything's going good.
Yes, Dick, this Budweiser team is very happy with the way the boat's performing today, but we were a little bit behind the 8 ball yesterday. We didn't get set up in the pits till about 10, 11 o'clock. The boat got here at 2 in the morning the night before because of the repairs we did in Detroit. So, but we're quite proud of it today, and we think we're ready to go for the final, and I think Tommy's going to give Chip a hell of a run.
From the winner's circle to the second place dock, and that's Oh Boy Alberto, where they're getting more experienced with the turbine.
Well, the Oh Boy Alberto came into Syracuse, New York, and immediately made modifications to get more air into the turbine. How's that going?
Well, it's helping out. We're still running a little hot on the motor, but everything's looking very positive. And every heat we go out, we're getting a little faster and a little faster. So we're making progress, and maybe by the end of the weekend, we'll be one notch closer to them.
All right, you seem to settle back in second place after you challenged for the lead right off the start. Then when all of a sudden you looked over your shoulder, and I think you saw someone creeping up on you.
Yeah, Cooper's Express and Mitch Evans was definitely creeping up a little bit. Our motors are still running a little hot, so after the first lap, I was just trying to pace myself, keep the motor in a temperature range where it would live. But when Mitch came up, we started putting a little more pedal to it.
Even with the heat?
Even with the heat.
The fifth stop on the HFC Hydroplane Series, the Pringle's Family Thunderboat Classic, continues in just a moment. Members of the media around the nation are provided with a fact-filled media guide complete with pictures of the boats, drivers, owners, and officials, plus a rundown of records both for individual race courses and world records. And now the Unlimited Commission is making available souvenir copies of this year's media guide, complete with history, records, and schedules of the year's events. To obtain your copy while they last, send $8 to the Unlimited Racing Commission, 414 Pontius Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98109. Price includes shipping and handling.
Dick Griffin along with Jim Hendrick back at Onondaga Lake in Syracuse, New York, where the turbine has given the subject to speed.
Former driver for 9 years, also former commissioner and chief referee, and now deputy commissioner. Lee Shaneth, where are these speeds going to end? Where are we on the ragged edge?
Well, I think we're on a ragged edge right now, Jim. These boats are just about flying. As you know, in the past few years, we've had about, 7 blowovers. The cockpits of what has been the thing that saved the drivers. We've had no serious injuries. Thank God for the cockpits.
Is that enough? Or will there have to be precautions? Would they put a governor on it? How would they reduce the speed?
Well, just like they do in cars. In NASCAR, they put a restrictor plate on. Things like that could be done if we have to do it. Right now, we have a weight thing with the turbine boats. They have to weigh a minimum of 5,500 pounds. There's a lot that can be done. The safety on these, the wind tunnel testing this winter showed us a lot. They incorporated the boats, and so far we haven't had a problem.
Thank you, Lee Shaneth. Now the Winston Eagle team still working on that damaged right spots and trying to get it ready for the next heat. One of the guys who had an accident last year was Chip Hanauer.
Chip, do courses tend to have memories go with them?
Not really. In fact, this sounds funny, but I hope it gets rough and windy again. Even though what happened to us last year, we just don't work real good on this really glassy, smooth stuff. That's not our forte. And even based on what happened last year, I'd like it to see it get rough and nasty.
You came right back last year, and you've been in the fight all the way this year, and you're coming off a very big win, and one that I know gave yourself and the crew tremendous confidence.
Well, I think it's a really good year for the sport in that no one's got a stranglehold. We certainly don't. I don't think the Budweiser does, and now all of a sudden this week the Winstons jumped right in there and can run with any of us, and I think that's really good. I'd like to see 4 or 5 different winners.
Now let's go to Heat 3A, with the Garrett Turbo U7 will compete with Jerry Hopp at the wheel. Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus Circus will go head-to-head with Mr. Pringle's George Woods Jr. in the cockpit, and Miss Budweiser with Tommy Deeth driving.
On the course here at Onondaga Lake in New York State, Syracuse, New York to be exact, in lane number 1, the Miss Budweiser, lane 2, Circus Circus, lane 3, the Garrett Turbo, lane 4, Chip presents Mr. Pringles. There's the start of the race. Right off the bat, it's going to be the Miss Budweiser, locking horns with the Jeff presents Mr. Pringles on the far outside, and between the two of them, it's the pink lady, the Miss Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer. So far, in command, it is Tom Deeth in the Miss Budweiser, but watch out, Circus Circus is right on the tail in the midst of all that water that you see thrown off the back end of the Miss Budweiser.
Anytime these two boats, the boat you're looking at right now, Miss Budweiser with Tommy Deeth, and the second place boat, the Miss Circus Circus, as Tommy gets a little wild ride coming off of exit pin at corner number 4. Anytime these two boats get together, it's almost like a final heat, and this is the first time in preliminary action that they have met today, and the speed of this first heat is going to prove it.
And certainly the Jeff presents Mr. Pringles is not out of it on the far left side of your screen. You can see the difference between third and first, 140.784 miles per hour. That's really a fast lap on a course that's roughed up.
Didn't I tell you? Once these two boats get together, these two guys, Tommy Deeth and Chip Hanauer, will push each other every race all year long.
Well, both of them have wins out here today, so we'll see if any strategy is played out. Miss Circus Circus on your screen with Chip Hanauer. He tends to play a little game out there now and then. If, in fact, in a preliminary heat, the Miss Budweiser gets a lead, more times than not, Chip will back it off a little bit and not challenge. There you can see the Miss Budweiser as she laps one of the slower boats, the Garrett Turbo boat, and now has a clean field ahead.
138.699 mile an hour. Lap number 2 slowed down a little bit for Tommy Dietz and the Miss Budweiser with one more lap to go, and Heat 3A will be history. And these two boats will be seeing action for the final time before the final. Here's your third place boat, Mr. Pringle's George Woods Jr.
These boats just settling down now because they don't want to rip up this equipment. They've got the championship heat yet to go today, and there's no sense tearing it up. They've already seen some damage to the Winston Eagle, and they don't want a chance their boats being in the same position on the trailer being repaired. Some repairs can't be made. We're still waiting to find out if indeed Jim Kropfeld will be back on the course in his boat. Now the Miss Budweiser, the red and white boat, owned by Bernie Little out of Lakeland, Florida, comes across the line again, and Circus Circus still in pursuit, however not charging hard, seemingly satisfied with the distance back to second place, and that's exactly where they'll finish the race. Miss Budweiser takes the win. Second place goes to Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus Circus, and third place will go to Jeff Presents Mr. Pringles as Tommy Dietz brings the power off a little bit, takes sort of a victory lap here on Onondaga Lake. Second place again, Chip Hanauer in the Miss Circus Circus. Third place, Chip Presents Mr. Pringles. Garrett Turbo rounds the field.
All right, now it's on to the final. Any strategy coming up that you didn't do this time against Circus Circus?
Just try and beat the circus. The water was a little bit better this time, but it was still pretty rough. Hopefully, by the final, it'll smooth out a little bit.
You know, I was thinking, Bernie, a little, these drivers are driving hard, even in the elimination heats, but then again, National High Points is up for grabs. You just increased your lead by 100 points.
Yes, we did, Jim, and Tommy's doing a great job out there. You can see the water, and it's rough for everybody, but we're here to win, and that's what we're going for.
And one of the boats in competition will be the Winston Eagle in the next heat. Look at the repair job they have done on the right sponson of that boat. It looks brand new. How will it run? We'll find out when we continue with more action from Syracuse, New York in the HFC Hydroplane Series. Getting ready for Heat 3B, and this should be interesting because Jimmy Kropfeld, who has sore ribs from a car accident, will be driving a boat that was just repaired in the pits. The right sponson had the lower part of it taken off. They have repaired it, and now the Winston Eagle gets set to join the Hulset Miss Madison and the rest of the boats out on the course for the start of Heat 3B.
And as Jim Kropfeld takes his repaired boat on the course, he'll have competition from Mitch Evans in the Cooper's Express, Mark Tate in Oh Boy Oberto, Mike Hansen in the Hulset Miss Madison.
On the course now, the boats are forming up for the start. Remember, they want to have the boat going at full speed as the final second on the clock ticks off to signify the start of Heat 3B. Lane number 3, that's the Winston Eagle. Jim Kropfeld on the start is going to take control, but he's got competition on the outside. Mike Hansen in the Hulset Miss Madison wants to get a share of the Winston Eagle and first place. Will he do it? Right now, Winston Eagle is in control. He goes down the back stretch. He's going to have to watch that water very carefully. We're getting reports the wind is forming some white caps down in turns 3 and 4.
As we look at Cooper's Express, currently riding in third place, Mitch Evans at the wheel.
Cooper's Express has had a very consistent day out here. If he gets enough points, he just may make it into the championship heat. Meanwhile, Jim Kropfeld, and every bounce of that boat, you've got to know it, it's hurting to a point. He got sore ribs in that car accident last night. They weren't broken, but they certainly are sore from an impact off of the console of the car. So you know he's got to be hurting. Meanwhile, he also knows they have repaired the one sponson on his boat. He has tremendous faith in his crew, obviously, because he's keeping his speed right up there to hold on to first place. Second place, Hulset Miss Madison. Third place, Cooper's Express.
This boat is 5,500 pounds. It's 29 foot long, 13 foot wide. Jim Lucero, the team manager and crew chief, built and designed this hull.
Jim Cropfeld, the top driver, as we say, starting the season. He had 22 wins in 54 races, about 40% average, which is extremely good. Mike Hansen has had a very, very good day here in Syracuse, New York so far. He's riding in second place to the Winston Eagle.
And had a pretty good weekend, winning the shootout for the piston powered boats yesterday and $10,000 prize money.
He certainly can use it with that boat. They're hoping, of course, as we have stated in other shows, that they will pick up a sponsor that will put a turbine in the Hulse at Miss Madison. It is a boat built for the turbine, but at this time they are running with a piston engine. We continue to look further back in the field, and there you can see coming through the mist the Oh Boy Oberto, Mark Tate. He is riding in 4th position back there. They've had a heating problem with that turbine engine this weekend. They cut out the top of the cowling to try to get more air in there. Still first place, Jim Cropfeld in the Winston Eagle.
Now, if he can finish here, Dick, and pick up 400 points, he might ease into the final field even though he missed a start because of the damage to the sponson. He could become the provisional starter.
There are a couple of people on the shoreline that are watching very closely right now that aren't participating in this heat, just to see exactly what the Winston Eagle will do. And with 400 points, he's going to be hard to beat as far as getting into that final field. Winston Eagle coming around for the final time in this 3-lap sprint race to qualify. He's got his fingers crossed that this will give him enough to qualify for the championship heat. Second place still is Mike Hansen in the Hulse at Miss Madison. Coming across the line, there's the checkered flag. Heat 3B goes to the U10. Steve Woomer's Winston Eagle, Jim Cropfeld the driver. Second place, Mike Hansen in the Hulse at Miss Madison. And third place will be the Cooper's Express, Mitch Evans. There's Steve Woomer and the crew, very happy down in the pit area. There's your final show with Oh Boy Oberto showing 4th. Jim, there were a couple times today you guys were wondering if you were even going racing.
Well, we had our problems, that's for sure. You know, I got my ribs injured, and then went on the first heat, and the water was so rough we tore off the bottom of the sponson and ripped it up. But you know, the Winston Eagle guys went to work. We missed the heat because of it, but we got it back together, and we went out, and we had to win this heat to be assured of a spot in the final, a payoff spot anyway. We didn't want to be the provisional starter, and we had to win it, and we did it, so it worked out great.
Steve, I'll tell you, this crew deserves a tremendous amount of credit. The repair job on that boat, if you didn't know boat racing, you probably wouldn't even know where they repaired it.
Well, that's true, but I had no doubt in the Winston Eagle crew. They're dynamite, and when it came out of the water, I knew they'd get it fixed before the final today, and with all the gumption Mr. Cropfeld here has after getting in a wreck last night, I mean, it's got to turn around for us here.
The final field is set. The run for the money in the Pringle's Family Thunderboat Classic, and we'll have it all for you in Onondaga Lake, Syracuse, New York, in just a moment. The boats are warming up here in Onondaga Lake, Syracuse, New York. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen. We are under the 5-minute gun heading for the 1. This is a place where they warm up, do a lot of milling. Some of the strategy takes place. Let's review the day's action. For Miss Budweiser, it's been a perfect day. She has won 3 straight heats and has 1,200 points. Mr. Pringle has taken second twice and won 3rd place finish, being consistent for George Woods Jr. The Circus has won 2 heats, finished second to the Budweiser, the other time out. The Winston Eagle did not start because of damage to the boat, placed 4th in 1 heat, and won the last heat we have just seen here on ESPN.
So here's the lineup for the final championship heat. Miss Budweiser, Tom Deeth the driver. Miss Circus, driven by Chip Hanauer. U8, Mr. Pringles, George Woods Jr. Hulse at Miss Madison, Mike Hansen the driver. Cooper's Express, Mitch Evans. The rookie driver, Mark Tate, aboard the Oh Boy Oberto. And the provisional starter, Jim Cropfeld, in the Winston Eagle. They're in the milling area right now, Jim. They are forming up on the back stretch. This is the time we start the clock 5 minutes before the start of the race. They then count down 4 minutes. In the final minute, they start forming up at the far end of the course. They will try to have the nose of the boats on the starting line as the final second ticks off. It is a flying start. It is a time to start. If they are too early, they're penalized a lap for jumping the gun. If they are too late, they penalize themselves because they're going to be back in those rooster tails and wakes. It's going to be rough to change position, and they must hold the lane.
We're getting the word now from the URC Unlimited Racing Commission officials that the Miss Circus has had 2 million infraction. and one was a $300 penalty, and we're understanding right now they're considering a second infraction, which may penalize Circus Circus 1 lap. We'll have to wait and see for the final word.
As they come up to the start line now, it is going to be Circus Circus in lane 1. The Miss Budweiser, lane 2. Jif Presents Mr. Pringles, lane 3. Cooper's Express, lane 4. Holsett Miss Madison, far to the outside, the left of your screen. That's Mike Hansen, and he loves that outside groove. There's the flag pulled in. The clock has ticked off the final second. By the way, as the boats take the start, they're moving into a portion of the course where in the background you're going to see some dark clouds. They are now threatening. The wind has picked up just a little bit. So has the speed of the Miss Circus Circus. Wait a minute, on the outside, it's the Miss Budweiser. Tom Deeth is challenging Chip Hanauer for the lead as they take it onto the backstretch.
They're coming down that back chute. It's Miss Budweiser by about 1.5 lengths as he's in lane number 2, but here comes Circus Circus on the inside as Chip Hanauer pulls even and then ahead. Now we're getting the word. We're getting the word on our URC radio. There is a 1-lap penalty to Circus Circus for a pre-race infraction changing lanes. That must mean that perhaps the Miss Budweiser driver, Tom Deeth, has been notified of that by his crew in the helmet, and he's kind of backed off.
It appears that he has slowed down just a little bit, and it's possible that he has been radioed to ease up on the boat a little bit. They don't want to risk any danger to the boat. Meanwhile, Chip Hanauer keeps it full pedal to the metal as he goes back into the hard turns here on Onondaga Lake in Syracuse, New York. Chip Hanauer in control as the boats run, but reportedly he has got to lap the field to make up a lap and take first place. So he's got a long way to go ahead of him. Right now, it is the Miss Budweiser officially in first place.
138.770 for Circus Circus on that lap number 1, but again, it might not be official because of the lap penalty, and look at those dark clouds. You're right, we've got rain a-coming.
Pringles now, the Jif Presents Mr. Pringles riding back in second place. Third is the old boy Oberto, Mark Tate. That's the official standing as you see it on the screen. The pink lady still in the lead. Chip Hanauer is first as they run only. Officially, he has a lap to make up.
We've had 4 races in 1990. This boat, Miss Budweiser, has won at Detroit and Evansville. And this one, the Circus Circus, has captured the Miami and Madison affairs.
Well, it's going to be a long way to go for Chip Hanauer to capture this one. He is a lap down on the lead boat, which is the Miss Budweiser, Tom Deeth. So Chip Hanauer wanted the rough water. That's exactly what he got. He didn't mind the windy conditions, he said, and he got those. As a matter of fact, the weather continues on the decline here as the water continues to roughen up. But Chip, unfortunately, was penalized a lap for a pre-race violation in the milling area. They watch everything out on these courses, so everybody has to lock into their lane and such. Everybody has to give each other a good equal chance at getting a good start on the course. So whatever the infraction was for, he is down a lap on the leader. Right now, the lead, of course, Miss Budweiser, Tom Deeth. Following him in second place is the Pringles, Jif Presents Mr. Pringles, and in third place would be the old boy Oberto, followed by the Holsett Miss Madison. Whoa, a high wave to the crowd, unintentional, I'm sure, by Tom Deeth, but it gives you an indication of how the course is getting tough. And remember, these guys aren't driving on asphalt. It's not smooth out there. They've got to watch for every wave.
Now, usually, all day we've run 3-lap sprint qualifying laps. This one is a 5-lapper. 5 laps to the checker flag with the winner take all.
All of the crews very confident in what they have done for their boats. A lot of it now left up to the driver. There's some information that is going back and forth between the pits and the drivers. There's the old boy Oberto. That's a boat where they tried the turbine engine in Evansville. They couldn't get it to work, so they took it back out and went back to the piston. Then they put it in Madison, and it's in again today. And so they're still working all the bugs out on that. Holsett Miss Madison now riding up into third position. Mike Hansen has moved up in the field to third place. He'll try to hold on to that for the finish. He's got a ways to go, though. Mike Hansen having a very, very good day. One of the best days he has had in unlimited racing so far this year. Chip Hanauer in the Circus Circus still trying to make up the lap on the field.
We're on the final lap, the 5th lap for Miss Budweiser. This boat, the Circus Circus, will get the green flag with 1 more lap to go because of the penalty, and the Miss Budweiser will come around to take the checker flag. Here's Tommy Deeth coming off of corner number 4, and he doesn't look like he's giving up, neither does Chip Hanauer.
Tom, he might want to just make sure that he's in there. I think there was a little mix-up on the flag, and he may not be clear exactly what flag was meant for him. But at any rate, Tommy Deeth has won here in Syracuse, New York, but he's going to take another lap just to be on the safe side. He hasn't gotten off it at all. Meanwhile, second place will go to Jeff Presents Mr. Pringles, the host boat here in Syracuse, New York. George Woods Jr., the driver. Circus continues at full bore on the course because he had that lap to make up from the penalty earlier. Whoa! Mike Hansen giving a victory wave to the crowd, but I'm not sure that was intentional. He gets third place for the Hulset Miss Madison. Circus now rounding it for the final time. The checkered flag is out, and that's the only flag out at this point. The green flag was out for the Circus earlier, and I think that may have been where the confusion came in. But right now, Circus is getting a solo checker to indicate he has completed his penalty lap and finished the field.
And here comes with an extra lap, sixth lap he did not have to take. This boat finishes second. He goes dead on the extra lap that does not count.
So George Woods Jr. finished second. No matter what, he'll get a tow back in, and we'll see if he celebrates. We'll be back to talk with the winners from Syracuse, New York in just a moment.
Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen back here at Syracuse, New York, Onondaga Lake. Here's the final results of race number 5 of 1990. Miss Budweiser the winner, followed by the rest of the field. Now let's go down to Dick Crippen at the winner's circle. He's there to talk to winning driver Tommy Deeth. Dick?
Thank you very much, Jim. And as we come to this winning dock one more time this year, and I got to tell you, you had to fight for that one against the weather and the elements.
Oh, yeah, it's been a tough one all day long with rain showers and wind, but we're glad 3 times in a row in Syracuse. Boy, what a feeling for Budweiser, right?
Well, I'll tell you, there's not any happier guy than Bernie Little standing right here now. And Bernie, this is a great accomplishment for this crew, especially considering you had damage on the boat coming in.
Yes, we did. They worked around the clock, and it seems like every time they do that, we win. And I think Ronnie Brown and our crew, they're just unreal. They put us out there, and we knew he jumped the gun when they, or not jumped the gun, we knew they had an infraction. They called it. So we called Tom and told him just to let him go, but he said, I didn't want to do that. I want to show him that I could run with him.
Here's the HFC high point standings through the first 5 races. Miss Budweiser with a 778-point lead over second place, Circus. Here's our remaining events. Next trip, Tri-City, Washington, then on to Seattle, back to Milwaukee and Kansas City, out to San Diego, Las Vegas, and on to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Well, they raced in between the raindrops. They fought off the wind. The Syracuse event is now finished. It's over, and Miss Budweiser becomes the first boat to win 3 races.
And Jim, I think we're happiest in the fact that it was a safe race. Nobody was injured on the race course today. A couple of boats suffered some damage, but I think they'll be repaired and back out and ready. A couple of boats served notice, too. Hulset Miss Madison, a very good day of racing. Jeff Presents Mr. Pringles, extremely good day of racing. The Winston Eagle, against tremendous adversity, came out and won, even though that auto accident hurt the ribs of Jimmy Kropfeld, and they had the hull damage to the boat during the day. So I think come Tri-Cities and that fast course up there, we're going to see some Thunderboat racing at its finest.
Yes, we're going to go to the Columbia River, which is going to be a fast course. And, of course, we'll all be there. On behalf of Dick Crippen, I'm Jim Hendrick. So long.
The HFC Hydroplane Series has been brought to you by HFC, Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource. And by Pringles, the fever reliever.